Everything seems to be getting faster. Faster technology, faster transactions, faster turnovers. The list goes on and on. The amount of data we generate and are expected to process is growing exponentially, and the complexity of our work grows with it. This deadly combo of speed and volume can feel overwhelming, even frustrating. You're putting in more work than you ever have, building more teams and working harder than before just to keep your head above water. But what if keeping up wasn't the goal? Imagine a world where you could move from a reactive position to a proactive one. Perhaps the same technological advancements that have created these challenges could be harnessed to meet them. This video will explore a transformative tool that is fundamentally changing how we tackle some of the most critical challenges to firms today. That tool, of course, is artificial intelligence. First off, let's set the scene. Post-pandemic, Reuters has found a huge surge in fraud, namely human exploitation, elder fraud, and government-related benefit scams. In the US, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network reported 4.6 million SARS in 2023 alone. This is a massive increase from the 3.6 million filings in 2022. And in 2019, this number was only 2.3 million. Now, you would think that more reports indicate greater vigilance. After all, FlagRight describes suspicious activity reporting as a cornerstone of AML compliance. The primary objective of SARS is to provide actionable intelligence to law enforcement, and where possible, to prevent and prosecute financial crimes. So of course, more SARS is a good thing, right? Not quite. As noted in AMS today, firms consider SARS a low bar to meet, which means that they end up treating it more like an obligation than actual due diligence. None of this is helped by the current compliance framework, which tends to encourage, or perhaps does not discourage, last-minute filings. In the US, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network is aware of this. On the 28th of June 2024, it proposed a new rule that would promote a more effective and risk-based regulatory and supervisory regime. One of the ways this rule would do so is by introducing mandatory minimum components in the interest of maintaining reasonably designed AML or CFT programs. However, firms are further incentivized to delay filing SARS by the mammoth task of transaction monitoring. Identifying suspicious activity is a time-consuming and largely manual process. You need a team, and in some cases, several teams, to pore over pages and pages of data. First, to establish a baseline pattern of behavior, and then to point out any outliers. To top it all off, most transaction monitoring alerts will likely be non-suspicious or false positives. And that is to say nothing of human error, which is constantly looming in the shadows. And if we're being honest, fatigue pushes it a step closer to the light with every data point analyzed. This is where AI comes in. But first, what do we mean when we say AI? When people say AI in conversation, they're usually talking about generative AI, specifically large language models like Gemini. But in the AML compliance sphere, very rarely are we suggesting that you put KYC forms in ChatGPT. 9 times out of 10, we're also talking about agentic AI, which refers to systems that don't only generate content, but can act on it. You can think of generative AI as your creative assistant. It generates content, drafts narratives, and even simulates policy language. Automation or agentic AI, on the other hand, is your tireless workhorse. Ingesting documents, flagging duplicate IDs, generating reports, no coffee breaks, no bathroom runs, just data done right. And that's another huge point here, data. AI needs data. The best AI models are relatively simple, but are fed with high-quality data to produce high-quality results. When it comes to suspicious activity reports, you'll find that both generative and agentic AI have a role to play. FlagRight suggests 4 ways in which AI can be leveraged in this context. What we're going to do is go over the theory and then try to line that up against the real-world use case. These 4 potential uses are automated detection, behavioral analysis, anomaly detection, and predictive risk scoring. Automated detection is like your first step in the SARS process. AI can automatically scan through millions of transactions and flag those that seem off. If you're keeping up with me, then you would have already noted that automated detection isn't really possible unless there's a baseline pattern of behavior against which potentially suspicious transactions can be checked. This is where behavioral analysis comes in. As the name suggests, these types of AI systems analyze customer behavior over time to construct a picture of normal behavior. Any deviation from this baseline can then be flagged and investigated to determine whether something untoward is going on or not. Anomaly detection combines the two. Machine learning models are particularly adept at identifying anomalies. This is because pattern recognition is the bread and butter of ML models. The key difference between behavioral analysis and machine learning is that most behavioral analysis programs tend to track behavior over a period of time and then produce a result at the end of that period. Machine learning models, however, are trained on historical data. Put another way, behavioral analysis learns from transactions as they happen, while machine learning is fed on transactions that have already occurred. And finally, predictive risk scoring allows you to feed risk factors into an algorithm, thereby enabling it to assign risk scores based on those factors. MasterCard, yes, that MasterCard, is already harnessing AI in this field. In a press release dated the 1st of February 2024, it announced Decision Intelligence Pro. This is the latest version of their world-leading decision intelligence software. The previous version of Decision Intelligence allowed banks to score and safely approve 143 billion transactions a year. Decision Intelligence Pro harnesses the huge data processing capabilities of AI to scan over 1 trillion data points. The specifics of this program are jealously guarded, but it's likely some type of machine learning algorithm. Through harnessing AI, MasterCard is now reporting an 85% reduction in the number of false positives. However, the use of AI in this way is not without its challenges. Time and time again, the biggest concerns we'll see coming up are the ethical ones. These issues are multifaceted. From research discovering that AI algorithms replicate the unconscious biases of their developers, to the legal issues of AI processing personal data. These are really the first things that a firm should think about before even costs. This isn't just about the tech, it's also about the law. Many AML laws were written in a pre-AI era, when automation meant a spreadsheet macro and cloud meant weather. Now more than ever, we need clear legislation. We need rules for explainability, accountability, and crucially, oversight. We know that better data equals better results from AI, but once you start collecting more data, you need better privacy protections. In the region, we have well-established precedent to this effect. It's not enough for firms just to ask what AI does anymore. We also have to ask what happens when AI gets it wrong. Who's liable if AI misses a red flag? Or worse, falls one where none exists? And what happens when a model discriminates without us knowing? These aren't just abstract questions anymore. They're compliance risks waiting to happen. While we do need legislation, it's not sufficient to just walk into AI blind and wait for the law to catch up. AI governance needs to be a feature of implementation plans. Firms must not only adapt existing governance structures to fit AI, but also create new ones where the old ones won't work. As AI becomes more agentic, we have to keep up. The last thing we need is for AML compliance to become the Wild West of automation. Let's innovate, yes, but let's also legislate, regulate, and educate alongside it.